We are on day 17 of Operation Roaring Lion, and these are the latest developments. This morning, multiple impact sites were reported in central Israel after Iran likely used a cluster missile in the latest attack. One injury has so far been reported. Over the past 24 hours, Israel faced multiple rocket, missile, and drone attacks from Iran and Iran-backed groups. Israeli officials say the rate of missile fire from Iran has declined since the start of the war, but attacks are expected to continue. With us now on the ground is ILTV's executive editor, Maayan Hoffman. Maayan, thank you for joining us. Maayan, what is the latest situation on the ground?
So unfortunately, India, from early this morning until late this afternoon, we've had just a constant barrage of missiles, including here in Jerusalem. Just a couple of hours ago, we had several impact sites in Jerusalem from a barrage of rockets coming from Iran. That is in addition to the constant barrage that the North is saying they have not let up Hezbollah rockets and drones. Now, here in Jerusalem, when we talk about impact sites, we're talking about 2 or 3 very strategic sites that were hit today. There was a direct impact of shrapnel, quite a large piece in eastern Jerusalem. We saw another piece of shrapnel, again, quite large in the Old City near the Temple Mount, as well as in the Jewish quarter. There was also some shrapnel that hit down near the Knesset and near the Prime Minister's office here in Jerusalem. Now, these are in these incidents, we didn't have too many injuries. People did take shelter, but we did see that in East Jerusalem, a 42-year-old man was taken to the hospital for minor injuries to his hand, injuries that happened because he reached down to touch that shrapnel. Again, a very important warning that these missile parts that are falling on the ground are hot, are sharp, and potentially even explosive, so you should never touch them. We saw in the Old City, for example, that a group of young boys were gathering around to see the shrapnel. Police came and moved them right away because it's quite dangerous. In addition to that 42-year-old man, a 50-year-old man, there were sirens, as you mentioned, in the center throughout the day as well. And in Kiryat Gat, one of the things that we're also seeing happen is that when these sirens go off, people panic. A 50-year-old man got off of a bus and was hit by a car. He's in serious condition. He was running to get to a shelter, and that car was running to get to a shelter as well. So, there's a lot of speculation about why now we're seeing these rockets fall in Jerusalem. Keep in mind that in Jerusalem, we also have the U.S. Embassy located here. We've had several impacts near that embassy in the last couple of days, including in Shabbat, and again, the Knesset and other strategic sites.
Maayan, thank you for that update. We'll be back to you soon.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, the Israeli Air Force hit over 200 targets in western and central Iran in the past day. According to the IDF, the targets included command centers that were manned by Iranian soldiers, air defense systems, plus weapon storage and production sites. The focus of the strikes were command centers of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and the Basij paramilitary force. The IDF says it's expanding strikes across western and central Iran to systematically damage the regime's control and command capabilities. Footage released by the IDF shows UAV launch squads and missile teams fleeing struck sites with an Israeli aircraft tracking and eliminating the operatives in real time. The military says these operations are designed to reduce missile and drone fire towards Israel, and they continue nonstop to destroy the regime's ballistic missile and UAV infrastructure. Now, U.S. President Donald Trump said Sunday that he has demanded that about 7 countries send warships to keep the Strait of Hormuz open. Though his appeals have brought no commitments as oil prices soar during the Iran war. However, Israel has been working with the United States to secure the waterway where about 1/5 of the world's traded oil normally flows. The president did not name the countries that depend heavily on Middle Eastern oil and are being asked to join a coalition to police the strait. Next, the Israel Defense Forces say the troops have moved deeper into southern Lebanon as part of an expanded buffer zone against Hezbollah. The IDF says the 91st Galilee Division launched a raid in the eastern sector of southern Lebanon, where troops encountered and killed several Hezbollah operatives. The military says the operation is aimed at expanding at what it calls a forward defense area, including the destruction of terror infrastructure and the elimination of armed cells operating near the border. Before ground forces advanced, the IDF said it carried out heavy airstrikes and artillery fire to move threats in the area. And with us now is a very special guest, Noel Haddad. Her family left Lebanon because of Hezbollah, and she still has family in Lebanon today, very close to where the fighting between Hezbollah and the IDF is taking place. Noel, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Noel, can you tell me about your family and what led them to leave Lebanon?
Well, in the early 70s, during the Lebanese Civil War, my grandmother, a mother of 14 children, so that's a huge family, of course, 5 of them, inclusive of my father, left because things were getting very intense with the Iranian-backed Hezbollah, the complexities that were there, and people were looking to leave in the masses. There was a lot of immigration that happened in that period. So that's actually why I ended up being born here in the States, because if that wouldn't have happened, I could have been born in Lebanon very easily. Yeah.
And how is your family now? What are they hearing on the ground?
Well, I have family as close as about 10 minutes away from the bombings and also up to a few hours away. They are in different locations. It is unfortunately a way of life for them. It's a reality for them. This is all that they've known is war. Hezbollah has really taken over what was a Christian nation and changed lives for everyone for many decades. And so they're living in, I would say, one of the most intense. They're saying this is the most intense out of all the years that they have been living this way. They're saying this is different. Very scary times.
Noel, so you are a Christian yourself. What is it like, and your family as well, what is life like right now for civilians, Christian civilians living in areas where Hezbollah has strong influence?
They are very afraid. There is a lot of fear of where Hezbollah will place themselves. There's a lot of news stories. It's very important that we are aware of the truth from lived experiences and not propaganda, because Hezbollah is going into Christian neighborhoods as well. And they are taking up refuge in places that Christians do live in, making it very dangerous and impossible to live without fear as a Christian.
And what do you think that many people in the West misunderstand about Hezbollah and its role inside of Lebanon?
I live in Los Angeles, which is the largest Persian community in the world outside of Iran. And all of my friends here, all we talk about as Lebanese, as Armenians, as Persian, all we talk about is how hard it is to live in a nation where Western Christians and Western people don't understand necessarily the actual kind of disrespectful views that they have towards our lived experiences, that these regimes are dangerous. These regimes take away human dignities, human rights, and yet you have people in the West that are rallying for these ideas and for these people to have power and to rise up with them. And it's so hard to live in a world where they're choosing ignorance.
And Noel, I want to ask this last question. Israel formally considers Lebanon an enemy state. What is your hope for the future between the countries of Israel and Lebanon?
I know that my family wants Lebanon to be free. They want them to be free of this regime. I know same for my Persian friends. They want their families to be free from this regime. So my hope is that we can safely, because there is collateral damage, there are innocent lives lost. Unfortunately, that is war. And it's not fair to the innocent people. But we do want freedom. We do want peace with Israel. My family loves Israel. We don't hate Israel. We love our Jewish brothers and sisters as well, and we just want to have peace and human dignity to live.
Noel, thank you for sharing and speaking up, using your voice, and we pray for your family's safety. Thank you very much for joining.
Thank you.
Now, Israeli officials have told Reuters that Jerusalem and Beirut are expected to hold talks in the coming days aimed at securing a durable ceasefire and the disarmament of Hezbollah. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's confidant Ron Dermer would lead the talks for Israel with the participation of U.S. and French mediators. Beirut is forming a delegation, but no date has been set. However, on Sunday, Israel's Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar denied such talks will happen. He also blamed the Lebanese government for not doing enough. Now, Israel is changing the way missile warnings are issued as the war with Iran enters its third week. The IDF's Home Front Command says the country will be divided into 21 separate alert zones, replacing the previous system of just 4 regions. Officials say the change is designed to improve accuracy and reduce false alerts by sending warnings only to areas actually at risk from incoming missiles or interceptor debris. The upgraded system uses operational data and new technology to better predict potential impact zones. Civil defense guidelines for the public remain the same. Residents are still urged to enter a protected space when sirens sound and stay there until all clear is given. And with us now to discuss today's headlines is Ariel Tobolam, the Director of Research at the Forum for Foreign Relations, and Dr. Ele Karman, a Senior Researcher at the International Institute for Counterterrorism, ICT, Reichman University. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Very much.
Mr. Tobolam, we're now on day 17 of this war. From a strategic perspective, how do you assess where this war stands right now?
Thank you, India. As always, it's a pleasure to be on the show. For me, I really don't think that there's any way this regime can recover. It's trying, and it's certainly unleashed a propaganda narrative online that is currying quite a lot of favor among Islamists, at least here in the UK. But it's not really got any grip on reality anymore. The regime has suffered serious damage to all of its strategic military outposts. The IRGC and the Basij have effectively staged a coup of the political leadership in Iran. Of course, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is dead. His son, Mojtaba Khamenei, has been named as his successor, but we are not even sure if Mojtaba is alive. There are many reports that he is either comatose or dead, possibly with missing limbs. And so the regime right now is and has been in complete freefall. And I think that, quite frankly, from June 2025, it was bound to happen. Now, one of the reasons why this war was started on the 28th of February was because the regime had shown quite clear intent to continue in its funding and networking of terror proxies across the world, as well as a rapid rebuilding of its nuclear ambitions. Now, this regime has, as I've said, been a thorn in the side of the world order for quite a long time now, just about 47 years. I think it's all time that we saw something new coming for Iran.
And shifting to Lebanon, Dr. Karman, we're hearing mixed signals about possible talks between Israel and Lebanon over a ceasefire and Hezbollah's disarmament. How realistic is that scenario right now?
First of all, I think that we missed a bit the war against Hezbollah in the 2024 year, when we didn't occupy completely the territory of southern Lebanon until the Litani River. And we didn't destroy practically part of the long-range arsenal of Hezbollah's missiles. Now, we saw that the Hezbollah is active, is practically, this was the role of Hezbollah in the Iranian regime strategy, to attack Israel immediately when Iran was challenged. It didn't happen immediately, it happened only after Ayatollah Khamenei was killed. But still we see that Hezbollah is ready to take the risk, not only for the organization, but also for all the Lebanese people and the state. Unfortunately, the Lebanese army was not able to disarm Hezbollah as it was concluded or accorded in 2024. And therefore, we have to fight again, practically from, not from the beginning, because it's a much weaker organization, but still we see that they are resilient and they are kicking back. What is new is indeed the proposal of the president of Lebanon, General Aoun, that Lebanon entered directly talks with Israel about an agreement, ceasefire, and perhaps an agreement how to challenge the Hezbollah. Not alone, because again, the Lebanese government is not able to do it. But we have at least 2 or 3 partners. First of all, the United States, but also France. France is considered to be one of the patrons of the Lebanese historically. But the plan that was presented by France is not giving the real, I would say, solution how to disarm Hezbollah. And the talks are only beginning on the diplomatic level. It's very important, first of all, for the fact that the Lebanon is hinting even that it is ready to enter in a peace agreement with Israel, perhaps even to reach, to join the Abraham Accords. But this is very early in order to evaluate how things will evaluate. Much of it is also dependent on how the war in Iran will finish or will continue, how resilient the government in Tehran will be in the next weeks. And also how the regional war, because now we have a regional war, will influence the other actors, the Gulf countries, Turkey, Egypt, and this is a very complex situation. As I said, the only positive thing for the moment is the President's own proposal and the decision by the Israeli government, in spite of some voices that we hear from the government, the decision to name ex-minister Bremer to lead the negotiations is a good one. And he is very close to the American administration, and we'll see how also France can help in achieving such kind of a positive solution.
And we'll get back to that. For now, Mr. Tabalan, the IDF says it has struck more than 200 targets inside Iran in just the past day. Over the course of this whole operation, it's been thousands of targets struck, according to CENTCOM. Do we know how much longer the IRGC can withhold these U.S.-Israel strikes?
I think that we must understand the characteristic of this regime. For the regime, the main issue is survival. Survival at any cost, including the cost to the country, to the infrastructure, and clearly to its own people. We saw how they killed tens of thousands of their own citizens in order to survive. And they are threatening that if there will be now new manifestations or new attempts to throw out the regime, they will respond even in a fiercer way. So they also prepare themselves. We see that there was a kind of preparation based on their experience. How we destroyed the Hezbollah leadership in 23-24, and how we destroyed in the 12 days war the leadership, the military leadership, and the nuclear leadership. They prepared a kind of hierarchical change. I mean, those which were killed were immediately replaced by people more or less of the same level, which have experience, and for the moment they resist and even are challenging the United States by attacking the Gulf countries, which, strangely enough, in my opinion, they are not reacting. They are afraid of Iran even these moments. But now we see that President Trump has decided to continue the fight because he has no many choices. To leave the Iranians the war is not an alternative. There is even possibility that the new Marines unit sent to the Middle East will occupy the Karg Island, which is now practically the life, I would say, the life channel for the economy of Iran. Perhaps this will influence the Iranian regime, but again, I'm afraid that this regime, like Hamas, after the war in Gaza began in October 2023, is ready to sacrifice a lot. Infrastructure and also its own people. The problem is, I think, from our Israeli point of view, is the 450 kilo of enriched uranium, which are not yet monitored, or we don't know where they are hidden, and this will be the main challenge. If we want to finish the war in a positive way, at least we have to destroy and to find and to perhaps to export those kilos of enriched uranium and not permit in the future, Iran to begin to return to enrichment of uranium.
And Ara, would you like to hop in there also and address how much longer do you think the IRGC can withhold these U.S.-Israeli strikes?
Sorry?
Yes, of course. Thank you. And I thank Dr. Carmon for setting out quite a few points that actually are very pertinent here. So one of the points that was brought up is Kharg Island. Now, Kharg Island, for those who don't know, is a 5-mile strip of coral in the northern Persian Gulf. And yet it's responsible for 90% of Iranian oil exports and I believe $78 billion a year worth of oil exports. It has been referred by multiple sources, including President Trump himself, as Iran's crown jewel. And targets, military targets on that island have been quite significantly bombed by US forces, largely because the Strait of Hormuz remains closed for business, at least to non-Iranian ships. I think it's just today that the first non-Iranian oil tanker was able to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. At least 16 oil tankers have been, and other vessels have been attacked by Iranian forces in the past 2 weeks. And what we're seeing is actually a willingness from the part of Trump, who acknowledged the value of Kharg Island all the way back in 1988, to stage what I believe might be a military occupation of the island. If Iran loses control of Kharg Island, it will never be able to continue in this war. The IRGC depends on it. Now, the strategic weapon and response that Iran has chosen is actually not missiles, and I don't think missiles are the most dangerous weapon that Iran can have in this war, nor do I think it's the stockpiles of enriched uranium, however dangerous that may be. I think it's actually the yuan. Now, a senior Iranian official about 2 days ago told CNN that the Strait of Hormuz would be open, but only if the states that use it would be able to denominate oil sales in the Chinese yuan and not in the dollar. Now, this is an attempt by Iran and by its partner, China, to fundamentally disrupt the petrodollar supremacy system that has been in place since at least the Nixon administration, which mandates that Gulf Arab states and other oil traders will always denominate sales of oil in US dollars. And that's precisely why the central banks of most, if not all countries, always have dollar reserves. Now, the problem with this particular approach is that Trump has actually given China a dilemma, which is he's invited China to be part of the coalition to reopen the Strait of Hormuz by sending warships and so on. Now, China is at a crossroads here. If they do send warships to the Strait of Hormuz in order to make sure that it stays open alongside other allies of the USA, such as Japan and France, then, well, how does that play out in Iran? How does that play out with the IRGC leadership, who have been selling oil to China at a heavily discounted price? But if they don't concede to those demands, how does that play out in the wider world? How does it play out with China buying oil at $70 per barrel when the rest is buying at somewhere around 96 or maybe even as high as 110? And so China's in a bit of a pickle here, and the regime will ultimately depend on Kharg Island and its sustainability. If it loses Kharg Island, it loses the war. Absolutely.
And turning back to Lebanon, Dr. Karman, really, according to the last ceasefire agreement Israel made with Lebanon was supposed to, and the Lebanese government and the Lebanese army were supposed to deal with Hezbollah, and that really hasn't happened. Why hasn't why hasn't Lebanon dealt with Hezbollah?
First of all, the Lebanese army is a weak army. Many of its soldiers, not officers, are of Shia origin. And historically, we know that there were a relationship between the heads of the army and the Hezbollah. For instance, during the war in Syria in 2013-14, the Lebanese army passed through Hezbollah in Syria tanks and APCs that it received from the United States and France. And even we heard lately that the new head of the army, which replaced General Aoun, has said that he cannot or does not want to fight Hezbollah. And therefore we have a problem with the these military institutions, which was supported by the United States and France for many years. The second is that the government of the president and the government and even the parliament are afraid of a civil war. In this framework, it's very important the position of the head of the parliament, Nabi Berri, which is a very old politician, head of the Amal party, which is also a Shia party. And at the beginning of the war, he was very critical of Hezbollah and tried to convince them not to enter the fray. But now it seems that again he is in some way cooperating or does not attack Hezbollah and does not support the government's steps in order to disarm Hezbollah. It's a very complicated issue, as always. As I said, in my opinion, Israel should have occupied in 2024 all the southern Lebanon until the Litani, and should have destroyed the arsenal that was in the Bekaa Valley through a very important command operation, but this was not done. And we continue to attack some cells of Hezbollah in the south, even sometimes in the Bekaa Valley, but not really the heart of the arsenal, which is underground in northern Lebanon.
And Mr. Tobalam, we've heard mixed estimates about when the war could end, but where does that estimate stand now? Do we know? And what would influence that estimate?
The Gulf countries, first of all, which are now attacked quite seriously by Iran, especially not only the military bases, American military bases on their territory, but also their gas and oil facilities, and even the airports. Countries which, like the Emirates and Qatar, are its economy based on terrorism, economic diversification and tourism is very hit by Iran itself. And this was on purpose in order to press the Americans, not only the Gulf countries. So it depends a lot on the economic effects, if indeed the price of the oil will continue to go up. There is no possibility to stop this kind of price of oil, and the international pressure, not only by the Gulf states but also by other countries, including inside the United States, business and economic institution will press the president, and for the moment it's very difficult to know. I think at least 2-3 weeks more, but it could lead to some kind of agreement. But at the same time, from the point of view of Israel, it could lead also to a war of attrition, a longer war of attrition, and we don't know, at least at the moment, as long as we don't find the enriched uranium, how it will end.
And I'm sorry, this is all the time we have for this panel. I thank you both for joining us, and we hope to see you back soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, India.
All the best. Yeah.
That's a wrap for today's news. For the latest updates from Israel on all your devices, be sure to follow our ILTV channels and keep up with us on social media on all our platforms. Stay informed with the latest news straight from the heart of Israel. I'm India Naftali. Be well, and thank you so much for watching.